Ever wake up already exhausted, like sleep didn't touch what's really wrong? You drag yourself through the day, smile when you have to, show up, do the work, keep going. And yet deep inside, there's this quiet ache, a kind of soul-deep weariness that no amount of rest seems to fix. This isn't just tiredness, this is spiritual exhaustion. Most people don't even realize they're experiencing it. They say they're stressed, or overworked, or just need a good night's sleep. And yes, those things matter. But what we're talking about is deeper. Like something inside you quietly faded away, and you didn't even notice when it started. You're still functioning. You answer messages, pay bills, do what's expected. But life feels like a loop. There's no spark, no fire, no sense of aliveness. Like you're just going through the motions, waiting for something to shift, but not knowing what that is anymore. What's so heartbreaking is that this kind of exhaustion usually hits the ones who give the most, the caretakers, the high achievers, the empaths, the people who are always on, always holding space for others. You show up for everyone, but no one sees how empty you've become inside. You try to explain it and hear, you just need a break. But a break doesn't fix a broken connection to your own soul. Psychologist Dr. Christina Maslach, who pioneered research on burnout, describes it not just as fatigue, but as a deep emotional depletion, a loss of self, a shrinking sense of purpose. It's what happens when you keep giving and giving without anything coming back to refill you. Your nervous system doesn't know how to turn off. Your body is tired, but your mind keeps racing. You stop laughing. You stop dreaming. You scroll for hours not because you want to, but because silence has become unbearable. And that's the difference between being tired and being spiritually exhausted. Take Anna, for example. She's 35, has a stable job, a relationship, even a cute dog. From the outside, her life looks perfectly fine. But she wakes up every morning with a knot in her chest. She moves through her day like she's underwater, slow, numb, heavy. Her voice still laughs at the right moments. Her emails are still polite. But inside, she's fading. This is the part no one talks about. When you're not in crisis, but you're not okay. When nothing is technically wrong, but everything feels hollow. And the truth is, spiritual exhaustion isn't healed by sleeping more. It's healed by realignment with your values, your truth, your inner needs. It's about reconnecting with what makes you feel alive, what brings you peace, what brings you home. If this resonates, you're not alone. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're tired in a way that rest alone can't fix. And that is a message from your soul, not a failure of your body. You don't need to push harder. You need to listen deeper. And in the next chapter, we'll explore one of the biggest traps that keeps us disconnected, the addiction to being busy, and how productivity can become a beautiful-looking prison. But for now, just breathe. You've already taken the first step, seeing what's really going on. Let's be honest, being productive feels good. You check things off your list, keep the calendar full, answer every message, crush deadlines. It gives you a sense of control, of purpose, maybe even self-worth. But what if that constant doing is actually hiding your deepest wound? See, when you're spiritually burned out, staying busy can feel safer than slowing down. Because the moment you stop, you have to feel. You have to face the silence. And sometimes, silence reveals things we're not ready to look at. The emptiness, the disconnection, the grief we never gave ourselves time to feel. So you stay in motion. You say yes to everything. You pride yourself on being the reliable one. You wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. Because stopping would mean unraveling. There's a term psychologists use, avoidant coping. It's when you distract yourself from emotional pain through external activity. And in our culture, hyperproductivity is the most celebrated form of avoidance. We don't question the person who works 60 hours a week. We applaud them. We envy their drive. But sometimes, that drive is fueled by fear. Fear of stillness, of not being enough, of losing value if we're not constantly producing. Behind the grind is often a wound. And here's the twist. The more burned out you feel, the more likely you are to overcompensate with busyness. It becomes a cycle. You're disconnected, so you push harder. You feel numb, so you chase validation through achievement. You're spiritually exhausted, but you keep sprinting, hoping the next project, the next goal, the next win will bring you back to life. But it never does. Not for long. Because you're not chasing success. You're running from yourself. Let's take Marcus. He's 42, works in tech, runs his own startup. On paper, he's crushing it. But lately, he's been waking up at 4 a.m. with anxiety. He hasn't had a real conversation with his partner in weeks. He skips meals, cancels plans, keeps telling himself, just until this launch is over. But there's always another launch. Marcus isn't thriving. He's surviving. One spreadsheet, one task, one dopamine hit at a time. And the worst part? He doesn't know how to stop. Because rest feels unfamiliar, like failure, like weakness. But here's what no one tells you. Rest is not laziness. Slowness is not shameful. And your worth was never supposed to be measured by how much you can endure. Healing from burnout means questioning the story you've been living. The story that says you have to earn rest, that your value depends on output, that if you're not constantly achieving, you're falling behind. It's not true. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is nothing. To sit in silence. To feel what arises. To let the discomfort speak. Not because it's pleasant, but because it's honest. You don't need another productivity hack. You need permission to stop performing and start reconnecting. Because the real you isn't buried under your to-do list. They're waiting in the quiet, asking to be remembered. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when joy disappears, and how losing our sense of pleasure is one of the most subtle but painful signs of spiritual burnout. But for now, take a breath. You don't have to earn your peace. When was the last time you felt joy? Not just amusement, or relief, or distraction, but true, body-deep joy. The kind that makes you laugh without thinking, that softens your chest, that makes you feel awake, alive, and real. For many people living with spiritual burnout, that feeling is a distant memory. What's hard to admit, even to ourselves, is that we're not just tired, we're numb. Things that used to light us up feel like chores. Conversations feel like noise. Beauty passes us by without touching us. This is one of the most painful and most invisible signs of burnout, the loss of emotional resonance. Joy fades not because life became less beautiful, but because we became disconnected from it. Our inner world, overwhelmed, overstimulated, and starved of rest, stops letting in the good, along with the bad. We flatten. We stop dreaming. We lose the spark. And we tell ourselves it's just a phase. We say, I've just been busy, or I'll get back into it once things calm down. But deep down, there's a grief, a mourning for the version of ourselves who used to dance in the kitchen, who used to read for hours, who used to find meaning in small things, sunlight through the window, a favorite song, a spontaneous hug. This isn't your fault. There's a concept in trauma research called anhedonia, the reduced ability to experience pleasure. It happens when the brain and nervous system stay in survival mode for too long. The same system that numbs you to pain also numbs you to joy. So when you stop feeling, it's not because you're broken, it's because your body's trying to protect you. But protection isn't the same as healing. Imagine trying to pour water into a cup that's cracked and leaking. That's what it feels like trying to enjoy anything when you're spiritually burned out. The joy doesn't stick. It slips through. It doesn't reach the core. Take Melissa. She used to love painting. It made her feel free, alive. Now the paints sit in a drawer. She still scrolls through art accounts on Instagram. She still says, I should get back to it. But when she tries, it feels flat, like the magic is gone. She thinks maybe she's changed. Maybe that part of her just grew out of it. But that's not the truth. The truth is, she's been carrying so much, emotionally, mentally, that there's no space left for joy to land. And here's the thing. Joy isn't a luxury. It's a lifeline. It's how we remember who we are. Reclaiming joy means reconnecting with your senses, your body, your breath. It means creating moments of presence, no matter how small. Noticing the warmth of a cup of tea. Watching the clouds drift. Letting yourself laugh, even if it feels strange at first. Saying yes to pleasure, even when your mind says you haven't earned it. You don't need a big breakthrough. You need tiny reawakenings. Joy isn't something you chase. It's something you allow. And the first step is believing you still deserve it, even in your exhaustion, especially in your exhaustion. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how burnout doesn't just numb you. It makes you reactive, short-tempered, on edge. And why those small emotional outbursts aren't weakness, but signals from your body begging to be heard. But for now, ask yourself, what used to make me feel alive? What's one small joy I can let myself feel again, without guilt, without performance, just presence? You spill coffee on your shirt and suddenly want to cry. A friend forgets to text back, and it feels like rejection. Your partner asks a simple question, and you feel the urge to scream. And then comes the guilt. Why am I overreacting? What's wrong with me? But here's the truth. It's not about the coffee, the text, or the question. It's about your nervous system being completely overwhelmed. When you're spiritually burned out, your emotional bandwidth shrinks. Your system is running on fumes. Your capacity to self-regulate, to pause, breathe, and respond calmly is nearly gone. So small things hit like explosions. You're not weak. You're maxed out. Think of it like a glass already filled to the brim. One more drop and it spills. Not because the drop was big, but because there was no room left. That's what emotional dysregulation looks like. And it's not a personality flaw. It's a physiological response to prolonged stress, disconnection, and emotional suppression. Research from the field of polyvagal theory, particularly from Dr. Stephen Porges, shows how the nervous system, when under chronic stress, becomes hyperreactive. Your body doesn't wait to assess. It just reacts. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So if you've been snapping more lately, feeling easily irritated or deeply sensitive, it's not a sign that you're losing control. It's a sign that you've been holding too much for too long. And no one noticed, not even you. Until the outbursts started happening. Until the smallest things started feeling enormous. It's hard to explain to others. They see the reaction, not the buildup. They don't see the nights you lie awake with your heart racing. The mornings where everything feels too heavy. The constant sense of bracing for something, even when everything seems fine. Let's take Jaden, for example. He's a new parent, balancing work, childcare, bills, a crumbling sense of self. Last week, he snapped at his partner for buying the wrong kind of cereal. Then he went to the bathroom and cried silently, ashamed of how easily he lost it. But it wasn't about cereal. It was about being exhausted, unseen, unsupported, and never having a safe space to let any of it out. Burnout doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like irritability, like tension headaches, like clenched jaws and emotional whiplash. And when we shame ourselves for these reactions, we only bury the wound deeper. What helps isn't more discipline, it's more compassion. Next time you feel yourself about to snap, try pausing, not to suppress it, but to name what's beneath it. I'm not angry at the mess. I'm overwhelmed by everything I've been carrying. I'm not upset with you. I'm just empty. And yes, sometimes that conversation has to be with yourself first. Self-awareness isn't always graceful. Sometimes it starts in the middle of a meltdown, but even then, it can be the beginning of healing. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how your body often knows you're burned out before your mind does, through symptoms you've been taught to ignore. But for now, breathe. You're not too much. You've just been holding too much. We like to think we're in charge of how we feel. But more often than not, our body knows first. Long before the mind can admit burnout, the body starts whispering. And if we don't listen, it begins to scream. You might feel it as constant fatigue that no amount of sleep fixes, or a tight chest that shows up every afternoon, like clockwork. Maybe it's tension in your jaw, your neck, your stomach. Or sudden waves of nausea, headaches, back pain, little things that seem random until you realize they've become constant. These aren't just physical annoyances, they're messages. Your body is trying to tell you something. I'm overwhelmed. I'm running on empty. Please slow down. There's a concept in mind-body medicine called somatization, where emotional distress shows up through physical symptoms. Not because you're making it up, but because the body carries what the mind refuses to. And spiritual burnout, especially when ignored, lives in the body. Cortisol, your stress hormone, stays elevated for too long. That leads to inflammation, immune suppression, disrupted sleep, and more. Over time, you may even develop chronic conditions that doctors struggle to explain, because the root isn't just biological, it's emotional, it's existential. Take Carla. She's 29. She's been to 5 specialists for her chronic fatigue and digestive issues. The tests always come back normal, but she feels anything but. What no one has asked her is, what are you carrying emotionally? What part of your life feels misaligned? What part of you is screaming through your body? This is not to say it's all in your head. Quite the opposite. It's in your whole being. Your nervous system doesn't care if you say, I'm fine. It responds to truth. And if your truth is, I'm drowning, it will find a way to express that, whether you acknowledge it or not. Some signs to look for: chronic fatigue or low energy, despite rest, insomnia, or restless sleep. Frequent illness or infections. Digestive problems, appetite changes. Skin flare-ups, hormonal imbalances, clenched jaw, headaches, body pain, racing heart, shallow breathing, panic episodes. These are not failures of your body. They're survival strategies. Your body is adapting to a life it wasn't meant to sustain. And until we stop, soften, and listen, those symptoms will stay. Not to punish you, but to protect you. The good news? Healing is possible. And it doesn't start with medicine or mindset alone. It starts with reconnection, gentle check-ins. Rest, that isn't just sleep, but emotional exhale. Movement that honors your limits. Nutrition that feeds not just the body, but the soul. Therapy, touch, time in nature, stillness. When you treat your body as a messenger, not a machine, something changes. You remember it's not just carrying your life. It is your life. In the next chapter, we'll explore the shift from survival to alignment, and how real healing isn't just about stopping, but about choosing a different direction. But for now, take a moment. Place your hand on your chest or stomach, and whisper, I hear you. If burnout were just about being tired, a vacation would fix it. But you already know. 2 weeks off won't heal a soul that's been out of alignment for years. Because true burnout isn't just physical, it's existential. It comes from living disconnected from your values, your truth, your inner compass. Rest is part of the healing, yes. But rest without realignment? It's a pause, not a change. So many people return from breaks still feeling empty. They try new routines, new jobs, new habits. But the burnout creeps back, like a shadow. Why? Because nothing outside you can heal what you haven't shifted inside. Healing begins when you start asking different questions. What have I been saying yes to out of fear, not love? What rhythms actually nourish me? What relationships drain me, and which ones light me up? Realignment is about choosing a life that fits your nervous system, your emotional needs, your soul's voice, not the version of you that learned to survive. It's messy and slow, and so worth it. Sometimes it means setting boundaries that scare you. Sometimes it means grieving the identity you built just to be accepted. Sometimes it means daring to want more. Not more stuff, but more meaning. Take Julian. For years, he climbed the ladder. He did everything right. Prestigious job, stable income, respect. But he was miserable. Every cell in his body was saying no, but he kept saying yes. Until his body forced him to stop. Panic attacks, full body fatigue, constant migraines. That's when he finally asked himself, what if the ladder I've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall? That question changed everything. He didn't quit everything overnight. He started small. Therapy, walks, saying no, playing piano again, talking to people who saw him. Over time, the symptoms softened. His energy came back. His joy returned, not all at once, but enough to remind him who he really was. Because healing isn't a destination. It's a return to self, to truth, to wholeness. You don't need a 5-year plan to start. You just need one honest step. What is one thing you can let go of today that's been keeping you stuck? What is one thing you can invite in, eat today that feels like nourishment? This is what real recovery looks like. Not perfection, not productivity, but peace. So if you're spiritually exhausted, know this: you are not weak. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are being invited back into alignment. And your healing doesn't start with doing more. It starts with coming home to yourself. If any part of this spoke to you, if you saw yourself in the exhaustion, the numbness, the overreactions, the quiet grief, please hear this. You are not alone. You are not dramatic. And you are absolutely not beyond healing. What you're feeling is real and valid and human. Burnout isn't just a result of doing too much. It's a signal that something deeply important in your life needs attention. Not judgment, not shame, not more pressure, just attention and care. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to reinvent your whole life overnight. You just have to listen. Listen to the parts of you that are tired of pretending, the parts that miss joy, the parts that are quietly begging, please come back to me. Start small. Start with honesty. Start with compassion. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like a single deep breath, a boundary, a walk, a moment of stillness. And if you're already on that path, keep going. You're doing better than you think. Have you ever felt spiritually burned out, even when everything looked fine on the outside? What's one symptom your body or heart has been showing you that you might be ready to listen to? What's one small thing that used to bring you joy that you want to reclaim? Share your story in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's create a space where no one has to heal in silence.